Rachel is a famous character throughout town because of her strange actions. Every night, Rachel was caught up in a scary dream. In her dream, she saw 3 people performing in the air, but a man did not catch his teammate in time, causing 2 of them to fall down. Every time Rachel woke up from her dream, her mother always came to her side in time to comfort and encourage her. Rachel's room was hung with crosses, but it seemed that these crosses would not last much longer. The neighbors around were bothered by Rachel's screams every night. Almost no one liked this strange girl. One day after school, Rachel returned home as usual, but she suddenly discovered a strange man threatening her mother. The man claimed that Rachel's mother was not her real mother, and Rachel was not a normal girl. The mother repeatedly begged Rachel to quickly run away from here, but as soon as she finished speaking, she was shot dead. Seeing this scene, the anger and fear in Rachel instantly flared up. Rachel released the dark power hidden in her body. With just one blow, Rachel knocked out the man. Then Rachel quickly escaped from the house and went to the bus station, but she didn't know where to go. At this time, the word Detroit appeared on the screen, so she used all her remaining money to buy a ticket. When she arrived, Rachel had no money left, so she had to go to a shelter for adults. Although she was in the shelter, Rachel still felt very lonely. Not long after, a woman took the initiative to approach Rachel. She expressed her desire to take Rachel to a shelter for teenagers, and she explained that her best friend had also experienced similar things. However, when the two went to a deserted alley, Rachel felt something dangerous. A voice inside Rachel said that the woman was lying. Looked behind her. When Rachel turned around, there were indeed people following her. A car nearby was emitting a dim light. Rachel did not dare to approach. Everything in front of her seemed to be signaling some kind of dark conspiracy. Rachel felt the danger increase, and a sudden feeling of fear rose in her heart. This woman clearly did not look like a good person. Once again, the voice inside her signaled that danger was about to come. So, Rachel turned around and ran away. But the woman was still following closely behind Rachel. Then Rachel found a brick on the side of the road, and in this moment, Rachel quickly threw it at the police car. This throw temporarily helped Rachel escape that danger. Finally, Rachel was taken to the police station. Faced with these questions, Rachel chose to remain silent until Dick appeared in Rachel's vision. His appearance brought hope to Rachel. Dick was the boy Rachel dreamed of every night. Rachel told Dick about her dream and begged him for help. At first, Dick thought it was all a joke, but when Rachel described the dream in detail, his expression suddenly became serious. It turned out that the mysterious couple in the dream were Dick's parents. Rachel and Dick seemed to be destined to meet. Dick realized that there was a possibility that someone had secretly planned all of this. In a fit of hysteria, Rachel revealed that someone had killed her mother, which made Dick even more determined to investigate these things. After Dick wrote down the name and address Rachel provided, he promised to check the information. However, before that happened, Rachel needed to stay at the police station. But the plan didn't go as planned. Soon a police officer walked in and said he was taking Rachel to a juvenile facility. After confirming, Dick discovered that Rachel's words were true, that there was indeed such a thing. Rachel also realized that the person claiming to be a police officer was actually an imposter, but she could not resist the strong man before her eyes. When the needle was injected into her neck, Rachel completely lost the ability to resist. When Dick arrived, he only had time to see 2 figures leave. Realizing the emergency, Dick quickly acted to chase the police car. When Rachel opened her eyes and woke up, she found herself tied to a chair, and the person who caused this was the one who took her mother's life. This man insisted that he was not a bad person. The man said that only when Rachel's life ended could humanity receive true peace. When the man was about to act, Dick appeared in time and prevented the tragedy from happening. According to the original plan, this man intended to hide behind the door to attack by surprise, but at the moment of danger, Rachel awakened the dark personality hidden in her body. The opponent was controlled by Rachel's dark power. Then Rachel immediately appeared in front of him. The dark power slowly permeated and took over Rachel's body. Then it turned into a thick black smoke. Finally, it quickly filled the man's nose. When Dick opened the door and went in, the man was lying dead on the ground, and Rachel had absolutely no idea what had happened. Rachel's mystery made the whole thing even more confusing. Dick realized that in such a complicated situation, he needed to act immediately. So Dick temporarily took Rachel to stay at a friend's house that he trusted, while he tried to solve these mysteries. On this side, a red-haired woman suddenly walks into a bar where a Russian mafia organization operates. Earlier, she had been chased and shot at by the boss's henchmen, and the boss, without hesitation, immediately takes action against her.
Wait!
After burning everything down, the red-haired woman discovers a photograph. At that moment, she realizes that her true mission is to find Rachel. But Red Hair Woman was completely unaware of her true identity. This morning, when she woke up, she discovered that the driver beside her had long passed away, but in her memory, only a blurry image remained. However, the 3 bullet holes in the car door revealed a truth. Before that, Red Hair Woman had faced a surprise attack. But before she could think further, a loud engine sound suddenly rang out from afar. A car immediately rushed over, bullets from inside the car continuously flying towards her. The woman quickly fled into a nearby forest. The pursuers refused to give up. They sent another group of people. After the woman escaped pursuit of those people, she went into a nearby public restroom to calm down temporarily. In her chaotic mind, she searched for her bag. She accidentally discovered a book of papers with her name printed on it, Starfire. Through the information on the papers, she learned her true identity. Next, she found a hotel card and immediately went there. Starfire not only has a striking hairstyle, but she is also an extremely rich woman. When Starfire met the lobby manager, she intended to find a way to get a room number. But unexpectedly, the manager announced that the entire rooftop belonged to her. After Starfire went to the rooftop, she found her phone. The phone's background image was a photo of her and a man. While she was thinking, she suddenly noticed a noise in the closet. She opened the closet door and saw a man tied up in it. This man immediately recognized her and he began to curse her. Starfire grabbed his neck and lifted him up. She asked who the man in the photo was. While struggling, the man escaped from the rope and the two immediately engaged in a fierce fight. Although her memory was faint, Starfire's fighting skills seemed to have become instinct. Starfire easily defeated him in a moment. After being beaten by Starfire, he gave the identity and address of the man in the photo. He then begged Starfire to spare his life, but Starfire was not a benevolent person. She coldly twisted his neck to kill him. Then Starfire went to a nightclub, but the man in the photo, who was also someone she used to be close to, intended to attack her. It turned out that because of Rachel, she had betrayed him. Starfire used her abilities to solve a series of dangers that came. Then Starfire took Rachel's photo and began a journey to find herself. If she wanted to regain her memories, she first needed to find Rachel. This journey might reveal all the mysteries of her past. On this side, Rachel couldn't remember exactly what happened, but she always felt that something was wrong. The dark power seemed to awaken in her again. After going through a series of journeys, Dick finally found his friend, Donna. However, Dick encountered a cold gaze from Donna's boyfriend. It turned out that Dick possessed an extraordinary mysterious power, and his past identity was Robin. He was famous for punishing irresponsible parents and abusing their children. What was even more shocking was that Dick and Hank Hall were not only rivals in love, but the two were also teammates fighting together. But at that time, Dick chose to leave the team to become a police officer. He wanted to protect justice in a more formal way. This time, Dick came to seek help from Donna and Hank Hall. Dick felt guilty and left some money as an apology, but Dick was unexpectedly discovered by Rachel. Rachel thought that Dick might have abandoned her. She was extremely miserable and ran to the rooftop alone. When they discovered that Rachel was no longer there, Dick and his friends also ran to the rooftop to look for her. But the group did not know that danger was quietly approaching. A family of 4 suddenly appeared there. Hank Hall wanted to go forward to say hello, but was kicked to the ground by a strong kick. The actions of these people were very unusual. Moreover, they also had very good fighting abilities. Dick's group, working together, was no match for them. As a result, Hank Hall was strangled by a rope. Donna was pushed off the rooftop, and Rachel was kidnapped. At this time, Starfire was sitting in the car calmly observing everything. The next morning, Starfire followed those people to a gas station. After that, Starfire found and asked Rachel immediately about her identity. Rachel felt confused and did not know what to do. Before that, Rachel was just a very normal high school student. When the kidnapper's wife arrived at the scene, she only saw a body lying on the ground, and their target had already escaped. This time, Rachel was fortunately saved by Starfire, so the tragedy was avoided. Not long after, the police received a fire call from the gas station. When Dick learned that Rachel was at the scene, he immediately went to the scene. Dick took advantage of his position to get the gas station's surveillance video, and as Dick expected, Rachel did appear in the video. Although Dick did not know Starfire, this was at least an important clue. Dick then enlarged the image from the camera and confirmed the license plate number of the car that Starfire was driving. Thanks to Batman's tracking system, Dick was able to locate the car. At the same time, Rachel was sitting in the passenger seat, thinking that the red-haired woman seemed unreliable because she did not even know her own identity. Rachel tried to use her mind-reading ability to find out information about Starfire, but the skill she usually used effectively was useless when facing Starfire. So Rachel asked Starfire who she was. The other party gave Rachel a photo as an answer, which was the only clue they had. In the photo, Rachel was still a newborn baby, posing with her mother and a nun. On the back of the photo was written the address of a convent, so the two immediately used GPS to go to that address. When they arrived, the nun did not appear surprised. It seemed like she had known Starfire before. However, when she saw that Rachel had grown up, the nun was extremely surprised. It turned out that a year ago, Starfire had come here to search for Rachel's whereabouts, and the nun warned that the environment Rachel was in was very dangerous. When Rachel was born, it was the nun who delivered Rachel. According to the nun, Rachel's mother chose to give birth at the convent to protect her. However, when Rachel asked why she needed protection, the nun remained silent, as if she was afraid to mention something scary. At this time, Starfire took out a key from her pocket and asked the nun if she knew what the key was. The nun immediately recognized it as the key to a locker at a nearby ice skating rink. Starfire then led Rachel to the ice skating rink. Based on the number on the key, they quickly found their locker. When they opened the locker, there was only an envelope inside. Inside the envelope was a key to the vault. All of this was like a puzzle waiting to be solved. At the ice skating rink, Rachel made friends with a blue-haired boy named Gar while they were playing games. Meanwhile, Dick's appearance broke this silence. Dick recognized who this woman with red hair was, but Rachel's reaction was cold and resistant, as if she still felt hurt from being abandoned. Dick felt helpless and disappointed because he misunderstood Rachel. He thought she just had some minor trouble and needed to temporarily hide. However, the reality was much more complicated than Dick imagined. Hidden secrets were gradually revealed. At this time, the top priority was to find a safe place for Rachel, but Rachel no longer trusted Dick, and she decided to go with Starfire to start an unknown journey. Faced with Rachel's decision, Dick's stance was very firm. Dick understood that Starfire was a dangerous character. She was a wanted person for murder and arson. However, Rachel's emotions suddenly became out of control. An angry scream broke all the surrounding glass. Rachel firmly declared that she would return to the monastery. Dick quickly acted. Although he was terrified, he still brought Rachel back to the monastery. At the monastery, Rachel's mood was still unstable. Dick decided to meet the nun to learn about Rachel's past. Starfire took the opportunity to steal Dick's car, and soon she found the warehouse that belonged to the key. In the warehouse, Starfire discovered a lot of information about Rachel. Dick also came here through the car's navigation system. During the investigation of the documents in the warehouse, the two were shocked by an amazing truth. Every year on Rachel's birthday, the number of deaths worldwide would increase significantly, even up to 200,000 people higher than normal. What made them even more worried was that in Starfire's notes, there was information that Rachel was the destroyer of the world. While they were trying to figure everything out, a sudden explosion made the warehouse shake violently. The two hurriedly ran out and were surprised to find that the explosion site was the monastery. The situation is getting serious. Something big must have happened. While Dick was chasing Starfire, the nun brought Rachel a cup of hot tea. Unexpectedly, after drinking it, Rachel fell into a deep sleep. When Rachel woke up, she found herself lying on a stretcher, and the nuns took her to the basement of the convent. The abbess explained that they did not have enough power to protect Rachel, so they brought her here to prevent danger. Facing the risk of being locked up, Rachel felt panic. Rachel tried to call out but did not receive any response. The dark personality inside Rachel appeared again, trying to convince her to accept her power. Once she had the power, Rachel would be able to escape this imprisonment, but Rachel still firmly refused. She picked up the chair next to her and broke the mirror. However, the dark personality continued to put pressure. It kept listing the relatives and friends who were injured because of her, trying to weaken Rachel's defenses. Rachel's consciousness gradually became hazy. Her abilities also gradually lost control. The broken glass pieces, along with the dark personality, kept flying around to stimulate her. Finally, Rachel couldn't bear it anymore. She let out a loud scream that caused a hole to appear in the monastery. When she regained her composure, Rachel ran into the forest in fear. When Dick and Starfire returned, they only saw a chaotic monastery. The abbot was seriously injured. Her mouth kept saying it was too late. Rachel met a tiger in the forest. this tiger seemed to recognize Rachel. It hid behind a tree. After a series of bone-clacking sounds, the tiger transformed into human form. The tiger was Gar that Rachel had met before at the skating rink. After that, the two of them had a very happy chat in a wooden house. Because they both had superpowers and had no hostility towards each other, they got along very well. Suddenly, a gunshot interrupted their conversation. It turned out that a deer had been shot by a hunter. Rachel ran to the scene to prevent the hunter from hurting the fawn, while Gar transformed into a tiger standing behind them. In a panic, the hunter accidentally shot his teammate. The two quickly left the scene. Rachel bent down to comfort the fawn, but unfortunately, it had no hope of living. Rachel felt very sad. Then she followed Gar away from that place. But the place where Rachel had caressed the fawn was recovering at a rapid pace, and the dead fawn also suddenly came back to life miraculously. Rachel then followed Gar to a villa where there were many strange characters. For example, there was a robot with only its brain left, a chef with bandages all over his body, and a woman who could turn into a tumor at any time. Meanwhile, Dick went to the police station to track down Rachel. The police said that someone had seen a tiger and a blue-haired girl in the forest. Hearing this news, Dick quickly drove to the location. At this time, Rachel was enjoying a culinary party, but while the woman sitting opposite was eating deliciously, her body suddenly began to change uncontrollably. Faced with that sudden change, the woman seemed quite shy. She was just afraid of scaring Rachel, but Rachel was a kind person. Rachel gently comforted her, which made the woman feel more secure. At this moment, the door of the villa slowly opened, and the leader returned. This person was the one who saved them, and also the one who gave them a new life. This time, he returned with a new member, but this member encountered an unfortunate incident. She was burned by a liquid nitrogen explosion. Her entire body was frozen at low temperature. In order to stabilize her body temperature, the leader tried to use serum, but the result was not good. The surrounding temperature continued to drop. The woman's life was in great danger. Rachel went to hold the woman's hand tightly. She mobilized the dark power hidden in her body. The other woman's agitated emotions immediately subsided, and her body temperature gradually returned to normal. However, Rachel's power attracted the leader's attention. He pretended to use the excuse of helping Rachel deal with the power in her body. His purpose was to tie Rachel to the bed. He wanted to dissect and study her. In order to protect Rachel, Gar tried to attack, but unfortunately he was injected with anesthetic by the leader. Gar immediately fainted and fell to the ground. Seeing Gar injured, Rachel's dark personality was once again stimulated. Rachel declared that this person must be punished. Suddenly, a stream of black smoke suddenly came out of Rachel's mouth. It was like a ghost in the night. The black smoke locked the leader in the air. At the same time, Dick and Starfire also arrived. In the mansion, a monster suddenly appeared. He rushed to attack Dick and Starfire fiercely. Starfire took on the role of shield. She used her light to fight the enemy. Meanwhile, Dick relied on his agility to avoid the attacks, and he relied on the sound to reach the basement. At this time, Rachel had defeated the leader, but she fell into a state of loss of control because of the released power. Countless thick black smoke wrapped around Rachel like a tornado. At that moment, Dick was not afraid of danger, but immediately rushed up. He tried to awaken Rachel's reason. Under his encouragement, the girl gradually calmed down. When the dark power dissipated, Gar also left the mansion with them. Not long after, Dick followed the kidnapper's instructions to find the mastermind. However, when Dick entered the building and was about to interrogate the man, the organization behind it sent people here to kill the old man. Fortunately, Dick avoided many attacks, but then due to exhaustion, he was no longer able to resist. At that moment, a smoke bomb flew over. Along with it, a young man in a cloak appeared. That was Dick's previous teammate. He was also the one who took over Dick's mission and became the second generation Robin. This timely support not only saved Dick, but also made it easier for them to capture the other man. They brought him to the safe house built by Batman. After that, Starfire and the others also received the news and rushed here. Although they questioned the man several times, he insisted that he would not open his mouth until he saw Rachel. In this situation, Dick had to let Rachel go and ask. When the old man saw Rachel, his eyes were filled with joy and hope. The old man admitted that he had worked for Rachel's father, and at the same time, he emphasized that Rachel's appearance was not to destroy, but to heal the world. The old man confidently said that he could prove this. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man cut his own throat. Rachel was shocked by this scene. She pressed her hand tightly on the old man's wound. Rachel hoped to stop the blood that was constantly flowing out. Miraculously, the old man's wound was suddenly healed. Only now did Rachel realize that she had the ability to heal. Rachel couldn't believe her eyes. She kept looking at the palm of her hand. From this, it could be seen that the old man knew Rachel's true identity. Faced with this situation, Dick and Starfire began to question the old man, but they still could not get him them to reveal any information about Rachel's father. Instead, they accidentally learned that Rachel's mother was still alive. It turned out that Angela had been imprisoned in a mental hospital by the old man because she had prevented Rachel from seeing her father. Dick informed Rachel of this news. When she learned that her mother was still alive, Rachel immediately decided to go to save her mother. However, Dick firmly did not allow Rachel to act hastily because he feared that it could be a trap. The argument between the two became increasingly intense. While Dick and Starfire studied the mental hospital's diagram to plan their course of action, Rachel secretly set out with Gar to save her mother. Unfortunately, as soon as they reached the hospital door, the guards used electricity to control them. It was clear that this was the trap the enemy had prepared. When Dick discovered that Rachel was missing, he quickly chased after her with Starfire, but the enemy used Gar as a hostage. The situation became more tense than ever. Starfire prepared to attack, but the surrounding area was full of gas pipes. If she used fire attacks, it would be very dangerous. In the end, Dick and Starfire were both taken hostage. On the other side, Rachel just woke up from the sofa when she found the old man sitting opposite her. It was clear that this is a prearranged plot. The old man not only wanted to kidnap Rachel, but he also wanted to capture her 3 friends. Gar was locked in an iron cage and constantly electrocuted. The other side wanted to test his superpowers. Meanwhile, Dick was tied up and injected with unknown drugs, and Starfire was trapped in a dark cage. Starfire could not absorb solar energy, so her energy was gradually depleted. A fighting queen like Starfire was finally put on the operating table. The other side seemed to be extremely interested in her superpowers. They even planned to dissect her to further research her superpowers. Meanwhile, the old man was still trying to convince Rachel. He offered her to join their team to summon her father back. Not only that, he also used photos of Rachel's friends to threaten her. Since her adoptive mother passed away, Rachel has fallen into despair. Rachel's friends are the people she doesn't want to hurt the most. When the old man dares to order her friends to be hurt, he deserves to pay the price. Rachel said that she will take back the life she gave him. Rachel personally dealt with the old man. Through the old man's computer, Rachel found the location of her friends. Then she quickly found Gar. When Rachel opened the cage to release Gar, a group of armed researchers suddenly appeared. Unexpectedly, Gar quietly transformed into a ferocious tiger. He suddenly appeared behind those people. Then Gar rushed in and brutally attacked them. This was also the first time Gar killed someone. With Gar's company, Rachel quickly found her mother. Angela had been imprisoned for more than 10 years in a mental hospital. At this time, Angela was considered a madman. When Rachel visited her mother's hospital room, she discovered that Angela did not trust her. Angela suspected that Rachel was the one who came to collect information. Rachel immediately took off her coat to reveal the crow tattoo on her back. Angela immediately recognized her daughter. After Rachel rescued her mother, she and her mother cooperated to save Dick immediately. Then they rushed to Starfire. At this time, the researchers were dissecting Starfire. They unexpectedly discovered Starfire's ability to heal herself. When they were about to cut off one of Starfire's fingers, a group of people rushed into the scene. Dick used only 3 punches to defeat the researchers, and Gar quickly stepped forward to pull the tube out of Starfire's stomach. Then everyone immediately escaped from there. During the escape, they encountered the security guards. Although Dick was seriously injured, dealing with these guys was a simple matter for him. Finally, a sudden explosion rang out. The entire mental hospital was destroyed. Starfire slowly walked out of the rubble. It turned out that she had detonated the explosion. The next day, the group broke up. Starfire and Gar had nowhere to go, so they followed Rachel back to her mother's old house. Dick found his childhood friend, Donna. Donna was a student of Wonder Woman, and she had great fighting ability. While the two were talking, Donna happened to see a photo on Dick's phone. It was a document that Starfire had collected before losing her memory. In it was a language derived from Sum. This language had disappeared from Earth's history hundreds of years ago. At the same time, when Starfire and everyone were on the train, memories gradually returned. After the shock at the mental hospital, Starfire's memories began to recover. When they arrived at Angela's old house, Rachel realized Starfire's abnormality, so she proactively proposed using her abilities to help Starfire find her forgotten memories. On the other end, Dick and Donna were rushing to a place. It turned out that Donna had translated the content of the photo. Donna revealed a worrying danger. Starfire's mission was to confirm Rachel's identity, and Starfire would eventually destroy Rachel. While Rachel was restoring Starfire's memories, a series of memories returned. Starfire's eyes suddenly turned green. Starfire suddenly grabbed Rachel's body. Gar tried to intervene, but Starfire seemed to fall into a special state. Starfire completely lost her mind. When Starfire was about to attack Rachel, superhero Donna intervened in time. Donna immediately threw the lasso rope that tied Starfire and pulled pulled her to the ground. When Starfire woke up again, she had absolutely no memory of what had happened before. Angela immediately ordered Starfire to leave, making her feel extremely regretful. Although Starfire's head was still full of fragmented memories, she still wanted to explore a puzzling problem, which was why in her subconscious, she wanted to kill the girl she loved. To explain this, Starfire, Dick and Donna went to a warehouse in Starfire's memory. They did not hesitate to step inside. When the light went out, a spaceship slowly appeared on the empty ground. The ship seemed to sense the return of its owner. The door slowly opened and the stairs slowly lowered. They saw that and quickly stepped into the ship. At this time, all of Starfire's memories returned quickly. It turned out that Starfire came from a planet called Tamaran. It all started with a prophetic book called The Death of the World. It said that Rachel must die, or else the planet Tamaran would be destroyed. Dick was confused because Rachel was a good person. He could hardly believe that she would do such a thing. Starfire explained that the one who caused all the evil was not Rachel, but a creature summoned from another dimension. Many years ago, that person was called Dragon. That person was banished after causing destruction to a certain world. But in the process, Dragon left a daughter on Earth, and that was Rachel. Rachel became Dragon's tool to connect to Earth. As long as Rachel summoned Dragon, Dragon could cross dimensions to come here, and he could once again destroy this world. However, Donna discovered a more mysterious problem in the book. If this was really Dragon's plan, who was the third person in the book? Obviously, that person was Rachel's mother. The relationship between the family members seemed harmonious. There was no sign of any disagreement between them. But when the truth was gradually revealed, Angela was the mastermind behind it all. Everything Angela did was aimed at Dick, luring Rachel to summon her husband. Indeed, at this time, a tense battle was taking place at Angela's house. Angela quickly acted. Angela first attacked Gar. After Gar was poisoned, he began to hallucinate. What was more shocking was that the researcher Gar had killed earlier appeared at the door. The situation became serious. When night fell, Gar finally could not bear the pain. Angela took this opportunity to beg Rachel to use her healing power. Rachel hoped to save Gar's life. However, Rachel's ability did not bring the expected effect, but she also made Gar die faster. At the same time, Dick and the others were on their way back to Angela's house. Seeing Gar about to die, Rachel felt extremely panicked. At this moment, Angela suddenly suggested an idea. Angela advised Rachel to summon her father because his power would definitely save Gar from the dangerous situation. But Rachel felt that things were not that simple. A fear appeared in Rachel's heart, but she could not stand by and watch Gar die slowly. So Rachel activated the dark power hidden in his body. Thanks to a mirror, Rachel summoned her father. He came from another dimension to Rachel's world. He used his power to save Gar's life. When Rachel first met her father, she couldn't help but hug him tightly. At this time, Dick and the others also returned in time. Dragon had just passed through a new dimension, so his power had not yet fully recovered. So Dragon created an invisible barrier around the house. Dragon sensed the three approaching, so he opened a hole to let Dick in, while the others were blocked outside. Angela wanted Dragon to start destroying the entire world, but he said that he would wait until his daughter's heart was broken before he acted. After Dick entered the barrier, he was affected by Dragon's illusion. The evil thoughts in his heart were released. Seeing Dick like that, Rachel felt extremely heartbroken. Rachel tried to free Dick, but she was completely unable to fight her father. Only then did Rachel realize that her mother had used her to achieve her goals. Meanwhile, Starfire was extremely worried. She tried to break the barrier, but only got very little effect. Donna and the others also joined the fight. Dragon saw everyone rushing to death, so he immediately opened the barrier so that all of them were invaded by evil thoughts. Rachel was very angry when she saw her friends gradually losing their minds. When she saw the opportunity, Dragon immediately dug out her daughter's heart. The beating heart instantly turned into a brilliant red crystal, and Dragon completely recovered his strength. He returned to his true form as Satan. Then he attached the gem to the middle of Rachel's forehead to help her revive. At this time, Rachel not only possessed the same power as her father, but she also completely awakened all of her abilities. Next, Dragon went out. He conveniently strangled and killed Rachel's mother. In Dragon's eyes, humans were not worthy of standing by his side. After completing this series of actions, Dragon began to destroy the earth. Wherever Dragon passed, the trees immediately withered and turned into a dead land. Everyone was controlled by Dragon. Luckily, Gar was still alive. He had transformed into a snake. Gar came to Rachel and used words to awaken her consciousness. When Rachel woke up, she immediately used her power to wake Dick and went out with everyone. Then Rachel called her father back. She released the dark power in her body. Dragon tried to intervene, but at this time, Rachel's power was not inferior to his. After a fierce battle, Dragon was chased back to his world. When the battle ended, everyone regained their consciousness. Dick Dick hugged the brave girl who saved the world. The movie ends here. Thank you for your attention and watching. Goodbye, and see you again.